to Waterfront TV. I'm Alessia Shivikova.
And I'm John Wimberly. Thanks for joining us.
We've got a great show for you, the last before we break for the holidays.
And that's fitting. This week's show really is in the spirit of the holidays. Don't you think, Alicia?
It is. We have stories of generosity and people coming together to support those in need, stories of reaching out and deepening our understanding of the cultures that make up our community.
And also the stories of the cultures that will soon be making up a bigger part of our community as Syrian refugees are welcomed to Halifax. More on that later.
But first, we have Ellen Coles with this week's news headlines.
Thanks, guys. A group of Muslims from Halifax say there's a lot of misconceptions about the hijab and the women who wear them. They came together to change that.
We're not oppressed. You don't have to pity us. We're not forced.
They organized Hijab Day Halifax and encouraged everyone to try one. There's also a panel discussion to educate participants about the hijab. It's a head covering some Muslim women wear to show modesty. Madison Holmans was a member of the panel and an event organizer. She says she hopes the event will change people's perception about the head covering.
Maybe they'll understand a little bit better. Maybe when they see somebody in their class or at their work wearing a hijab, they'll be more inclined to speak to that person and not feel like, oh, she's different, I'm just gonna stay over here and not say anything to her.
All the hijabs were donated from the community and everyone who tried one got to keep it. Some people with disabilities and their families say there's not enough assisted living housing in Nova Scotia. The provincial government promised to address the problem several years ago, but as Kristen Brown tells us, it's only gotten worse.
That's right, Ellen. 3 years ago, the Department of Community Services announced changes to their disability support program. Among those changes were the phasing out of large institutions and funding for residential housing. I spoke with one family who says they haven't seen any changes at all. In many ways, 26-year-old Brendan Anderson is like any other young adult. He works and enjoys spending time on the computer and with his girlfriend. But Brendan was born with Down syndrome, and that has made for some special challenges.
Oh, it's a struggle.
Pam Anderson is Brendan's mother. She spends much of her time caring for her son.
There's a lot of challenges. He can't be left alone. He's not self-sufficient. I mean, he can do his own thing, but we're worried.
That's why 5 years ago, Anderson put Brendan on a wait list for housing for people with disabilities. But she hasn't heard a thing.
I think the wait list is just far too long. Or at least give us some hope of that, oh, well, maybe in the next year he could go in, or give us some kind of understanding that he's going to get in there.
In 2013, the Department of Community Services admitted that the waitlist was a concern. At the time, the list stood at 951 people in the province. Now that number has climbed to more than 1,100.
It's not something that can be done quickly.
Lorna McPherson is the director of the Disability Support Program for the province.
Improvements that we are making in the program are to, number one, address the waitlist situation, but a big part of that is around developing policies and programs that are more flexible.
McPherson says despite the growing waitlist, the province takes the problem seriously.
This is considered a priority, and while that may not offer the hope that families need to hear right now, it does mean that there is recognition.
For Brendan Anderson, moving to residential housing means a coming of age. He says he's ready for the next chapter in his life.
I'm not a little boy no more. Being a man, because from my mom and dad and my grandparents.
He might be 30, 35 before he gets in there. Well, we're getting older. He needs to get in there. They need to, I don't know what they have to do, but they got to get on it and figure it out.
Also, Pam Anderson says there are a number of issues that need to be addressed in the system, like the number of group homes and funding. Anderson says that she's hopeful that Brendan will get into residential housing someday soon.
Thanks, Kristen. 300 delegates from around the world gathered for the 7th annual Halifax International Security Forum over the weekend. The Westin Nova Scotian hosted the forum to discuss worldwide threats and ways to deal with them. A major topic on this year's agenda was whether or not countries should accept Syrian refugees. Many citizens want Canada to take in the refugees, but are a little apprehensive after the terrorist attacks in Paris.
No, it's a hard topic because it's heartbreaking to see what those people are going through, but I still want it to be us to live in a protected world. So as long as they can bring them here and with the most secure way of finding out that everything's okay.
The new Defense Minister, Harjit Sajjan, spoke at the security forum. He says the Canadian government will stay true to its word and accept 25,000 Syrian refugees as promised. Sajjan says he expects refugees to arrive by January. A woman from Halifax has started a new campaign to help make people who live on the streets more comfortable this winter. Caitlin Ferguson created a Facebook group called A Bag of Hope Homeless Outreach just over a week ago, and she already has close to 500 members. Ferguson is new to the HRM and says she got the idea for the group when she and her boyfriend were walking downtown.
We came across some homeless people, and I remember that we had a blanket in the truck, so we went and got it and got him a coffee, and we brought it back and just went home that night and realized that there's people out there that need help.
Ferguson has set up drop-off locations around Halifax so it's easier for people to donate, such as this Superstore parking lot. They're accepting blankets, winter gear, toiletries, and non-perishable food items. All the items will be put into bags that will be given out to people on the streets. Ferguson says she's planning on distributing 40 bags this week and will continue the project next year. It was the 20th anniversary of the Chronicle Herald's Holiday Parade of Lights on Saturday. To mark the occasion, a new event was added to the festivities. The Red Nose Run is a 2.5-kilometer route that starts 15 minutes before the parade. Organizers wanted more fitness in the parade, and the timing worked because the roads were already closed off. Grant Walker's the race director. He says it sold out more than 2 weeks before the run.
We capped it at 500 because we want to experiment a little bit with this concept, and I would suspect if it's successful as we plan, there'll be more than 500 next year.
Runners were cheered on by thousands of parade spectators who showed up despite the rain. The Red Nose Run raised $2,500 for Feed Nova Scotia. Organizers say they're hoping to make this a new parade tradition. That's it for your WTV News. Back to you, John and Alacia.
Thanks, Ellen.
After the break, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas at historic properties in downtown Halifax. The Empress of Ireland exhibit is now open at Pier 21. This and other stories are waiting for you at our website, waterfronttv.org.
Christmas is a month away, but the festive spirit is already here.
A new holiday market opened its doors in Halifax. Jake Neeson has more.
The holiday spirit was shining bright this past weekend at the Halifax Lights Holiday Market at Historic Properties. Shoppers enjoyed warm drinks, donuts, and a live light show that happens every 10 minutes. Rebecca Taylor is a local shop owner and coordinator for the event. She says Historic Properties is a perfect place for the market.
What's really great about it is it makes use of the beautiful space at Historic Properties. There's a beautiful outdoor courtyard area that's spectacularly lit up and with a really wonderful surprise every 10 minutes.
This is the first year for the market. It's a 5-weekend event that lasts until the weekend before Christmas. Local vendors and shop owners gather to showcase their merchandise and talent. Christopher Hemsworth of Deer Inner Demons says events like this are a great outlet for local artists.
They were being really generous about making it affordable for vendors to come down and get a space at a really great rate. Signed up for a space, and I come in to see this amazing looking, it just looks amazing in this building.
Different themes will be showcased each weekend. This time it was an international celebration. Next weekend takes on a pet theme called It's Snowing Cats and Dogs. Despite it still being November, the holiday spirit is bright in downtown Halifax.
We also love the vendors that are here because they're very compatible with what we do. So it's created a very festive and exciting place to shop.
Jake Nissen, WTV News, Halifax.
Oh, I'm definitely going there.
You can really feel the shift right now as people are gearing up for the holidays.
But the holidays aren't quite here yet. It's November, And that means it's Movember.
Yep. And WTV's Nicole Martel found a particularly playful Movember fundraiser. Nicole?
Thanks, John. 56 students gathered at Dow to participate in the first ever bubble soccer event for Movember. Bubble soccer. It's a recreational sport where you stand inside of a protective bubble and play soccer, all the while trying to avoid collisions with other players. Chris Dubois is a Dow student. He says he came out today because his family has been personally affected by prostate cancer.
I've had several family members affected by prostate cancer and currently have a family member going through treatment for it right now, so it's just one of those things, you know. You support the cause that's helping your own family out as best you can.
And this year, Movember expanded their reach. It's not only about raising funds for prostate cancer, but testicular cancer, mental health, and men's inactivity as well. Ty Bryan is a team leader for the Pro-Social Project, which put on the event.
The Pro-Social Project, its main focus is on mental health, and how we're incorporating that into this is letting people become aware of where to go if they have a mental health issue and how to recognize it as well.
So far this month, Dow has raised more than $14,000 for Movember charities. Itai Kawaza is an international student from Zimbabwe, and she says the amount of support the events have had is incredible.
I think it's great that they got a lot of college kids involved in this, and it's just getting the youth involved, which is something that I'm not used to. But yeah, people giving up their time and money to be here for a worthy cause is really inspirational and gives you hope.
The event raised $520. The Pro-Social Project hopes to run the event again next year with even more teams participating. Back to you.
Thanks, Nicole.
It's always good to give for a good cause. And John, we have more contemplation on generosity tonight, don't we?
We do. Both Alicia and I are actually immigrants. I was born in the United States.
And I'm from the Ukraine.
We're both first-generation Canadians, and that's had us thinking a lot about the Syrian refugees who will soon be on their way here and the experience they'll have coming to Canada. And obviously, we aren't the only ones thinking about this. I spoke to Reverend Russell Day of St. Andrew's United Church in Halifax. He just came back from a visit with Syrian refugees in the Middle East. The Canadian Centre for Ethics and Public Affairs had a full house. People were there to hear Reverend Russell Day's thoughts on the Syrian refugee crisis and find out what they might do to help.
There may be tensions, as there always are in big immigration processes. Let's get ahead of the curve and build friendship.
Reverend Day spent almost 6 weeks in Lebanon and Turkey, meeting not only with refugees in the large camps, but those spread throughout communities.
Living in apartments, staying with cousins, many of them living in garages underneath buildings.
This was the scene as he traveled to learn more about these people and bring that knowledge home to help with their arrival here in Nova Scotia.
Fortunately, we're Maritimers. We're great at welcoming. We're friendly people. I think that in some ways we're better at the first wave of welcoming than we are at integration.
And that long-term process of integration and real engagement with newcomers is what Day most stressed.
Are we ready to invite people into our homes? We're willing to learn a small vocabulary of 20 or 30 Arabic words just to signal to people that, we're actually making some effort.
One attendee sponsored a refugee family nearly 20 years ago and felt that such an effort was worthwhile.
It's quite a success story. They've done very well. They're all gainfully employed. The 2 children have gone through university, and they all started with basically nothing when they came to Canada. So it's a real Canadian success story.
And Day wants people here to know that success depends on deeply engaging with those settling here. He suggests learning about their culture or hosting a Muslim family for a breaking of the fast during Ramadan.
Those are all things we can do. Some of them would involve pushing the envelope in terms of our own comfort, but I think, push away.
Right now, Reverend Day and his congregation are raising money to sponsor a refugee family, and he's continuing to share his message and his experience in the Middle East as widely as possible.
And there are a lot of ways in what people try to make a difference. We've all heard of people selling candy bars and running marathons, but a local conservation charity is taking a more creative approach.
Nick Medor has the story.
The Nova Scotia Nature Trust kicked off an unusual fundraiser Monday night. They're hosting an expedition. It's called Expedition for the Earth 2016, and it will bring adventurers on a 7-day journey through a nature reserve in the Central Highlands of Iceland. Laura Hussey-Bont was on the last fundraising expedition to Patagonia, Chile 2 years ago. She says it was a therapeutic experience and recommends others jump on this opportunity.
It's good for the soul, I think. You know, you come out of that trip and I swear I was happy for just weeks afterwards. You know, it just feels so good to be able to go and just sort of immerse yourself in a place like that. And all the better because you're doing it for a good cause.
There were 13 participants in the last expedition. Organizers believe they can at least meet that number with this one. The group leaves Halifax on September 7, 2016 and runs through the 15th. Funds raised will allow the charity to protect and maintain conservation lands and animal sanctuaries. It's open to anyone across Nova Scotia. Prospective travelers are responsible for raising the $2,500 fee for the trip in any way they can. The expedition will have travelers hiking long distances along rough terrain, but organizers stress that you don't need to be in peak physical condition. What's more important is a sense of adventure and a love for the outdoors. Renowned mountaineer and adventure guide Wally Berg will be leading the Icelandic expedition. He's climbed Mount Everest 4 times and has visited every continent on the planet. Berg has practically seen it all, but he says it's not always about the sights.
The richest part of the experiences I've had traveling on every continent and going some of the extreme places in the world, it's been about the people who go there, the team, the people you're going with, sharing a goal, sharing enjoyment of the natural world.
A natural world that the Nature Trust is trying to conserve for generations to come. Nick Medor, WTV News, Halifax.
Iceland is definitely on my wish list.
They have these hot springs there that'll be sounding pretty good to me in a few months, I think.
Coming up, a story that will tease your senses with flavors of colorful, vibrant communities and their art, music, and dance.
We'll be right back. If you spend any time at the Seaport Market, you'll recognize Hope Blooms as a brand of delicious salad dressings. In this week's edition of Your City, Your Stories, Ed Halverson gets to the roots of one member of the Hope Blooms Community Garden.
Hope Blooms is a project for at-risk youth in Halifax's North End that started as a community garden. The members use the produce and herbs grown there to make their own salad dressing, which they then sell at the Halifax Farmers Market. What Hope Blooms is really growing, though, is community leaders. At 16 years old, Bokar Wade has been a member of Hope Blooms for 5 years.
My friends joined, so like most people do, you kind of follow what your friends do and experience new things that you haven't done before. So I decided to join Hope Blooms and try something new.
Now a youth leader with Hope Blooms, Bokar has learned valuable lessons to achieve group success.
So it's just being organized and understanding teamwork, because we have over 62 youth in our business, and bringing everyone into the program in different ways to make the final product, which is our salad dressings.
Self-reliance is another skill that is cultivated at Hope Blooms.
I'd say we're a pretty good businessmen ourselves, so we started from nothing and we were able to make our own business without any teachings from anyone, because business is really a art of perspective. So we do everything from calculating how much a bottle costs, who our target market is, and all kinds of stuff like that. So,
for Bokar, it isn't just about helping to drive a successful business. It is just as important to pass on his knowledge to the youth following in his footsteps.
We teach them how to plant a seed, we teach them how to harvest vegetables, we teach them how to weed and water. And then after that, they take that knowledge and they grow up with it, and then they're able to mentor the younger kids that come in the next generation. So it's a cycle, a sustainable cycle of mentorship that we have here.
Bokar says he wants others to benefit from the experience he's had.
I hope to see Hope Blooms implemented in cities across Canada, because I think it's a great way to get kids involved into their community and really do something with their afternoons or their summertime instead of playing video games or doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, of course. And I think it's a great project and more kids should be involved in it. It just shows you the opportunity you can have from little things that you think really don't matter, but if you look at it deeply, you can see how much change can come from something so little.
Ed Halverson, WTV News, Halifax.
After their appearance on CBC's Dragon's Den in 2013, Bokar and the members of Hope Blooms have really gained a lot of momentum. And today they're launching their salad dressings in 4 Atlantic Superstore locations across Metro.
Events around the world have left many with feelings of division, but in Halifax, 4 vibrant communities are offering their own night of culture, arts, and dance. I was there to get inspired. This is the Night of Inspiration. It brings 4 immigrant communities together to share their cultures. It's a mix of Turkish, Arabic, Persian, and Afghan flavors.
Music is always a really good common language that brings people together. So when you're dancing, you learn a new move, and basically you're just having a good time. Doesn't matter if you can do the moves perfectly or not.
For the 4th year, this event is organized by the members of the communities. It features traditional dance, food, live painting, music, and awards. It is an attempt to unite people under the roof of arts and diversity. Mohammed Ahmed says people can appreciate art regardless of their cultural or religious background.
You can say it's a common language, it's a common ground. So maybe we might have some language barrier, but with art, we all understand art.
It's a great way to get to know each other, and the more we know about each other's cultures, the more people are not so worried and so scared.
And Nikki Jafar agrees. This is the first year for the Afghan community to participate. She says it's very important to share their culture.
Any culture you're not familiar with, or any ethnicity or religion you're not familiar with, the more you don't know about something, the scarier it may seem. So you can't just base your entire perception of something based on just things you've heard or things from the media.
And the youngest guests are here just to dance and to have fun.
We have lots of fun.
That was really a night to remember.
That's great, Alicia. And now, first-year students from our program have some upcoming local events to share with you.
Eilish Bonan has it all.
Thanks, Lacey and John. It's the last week of November, and Halifax has a great lineup of events this weekend to bring you into the holiday season. If you're eager to get into the festive spirit, kick things off with the Halifax tree lighting on Saturday, November 28th. This free event includes a live performance by Big Fish, a dance party with Puss in Boots from Shrek, and of course a visit from Santa Claus himself. You can also make a donation to Feed Nova Scotia. For more information, visit halifax.ca/events. If you're not quite ready for Christmas music but you're looking for some good tunes, you can take in a double dose of Canadian musical talent this weekend. Dartmouth's own Mo Kenny will be performing on Friday the 27th at the Seahorse, starting at 7 p.m. On Saturday, Protest the Hero arrives on their Kezia X Tour. The hit metal band will bring their heavy melodic sound to the Marquee Club. Show starts at 7 p.m. Ticket information can be found on etixnow.com. Both concerts are 19+ events. And finally, keep an eye out for Christmas Daddies events happening all over Nova Scotia this holiday season. Our own NSCC Waterfront campus will be playing host to Christmas Daddies on December 5th. That's all for entertainment this week. I'm Eilish Boning. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Eilish.
We're so delighted that you joined us for our last episode of the year. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as we enjoyed bringing this to you.
And this isn't the end. We have more stories for you at waterfronttv.org.
And we're also on Twitter, Snapchat, and all the social medias at WTV Media. So go online right now and follow us.
From all of us at Waterfront TV, have the happiest holidays.
Joyeux Noël.
Happy Hanukkah.
A cheerful Children's Day.
كل سنة وأنتم طيبين في مولد النبي.
A very special solstice.
С Новым годом и Рождеством Христовым. Feliz Navidad.
Alicia is sort of the language expert here, in case you didn't pick up on that.
And a Happy New Year.
Good night.